All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to untangle the really complex web that connects what we believe to, well, where we stand in society. We're going way beyond just faith to look at how religion really interacts with things like class, culture, and our communities. So, let's kick things off with what seems like a pretty simple question. Who's more religious, the rich or the poor? Now, I bet most of us have a quick gut answer to that one. But as we're about to find out, the reality is so much more complicated. And right there, that's what this is all about. By digging into this one question, we're actually going to uncover some pretty fascinating truths about social class, ethnicity, identity, and how all of that stuff shapes the role religion plays in all of our lives. Okay, but before we can even try to answer our big question about the rich and the poor, we immediately hit this huge roadblock. I mean, how do you actually measure something as personal and internal as religious belief? It's a massive challenge for sociologists, and it's really where we have to start. And this quote from Navone just hits the nail on the head. It illustrates the problem perfectly. When we just ask people if they're religious, we're just relying on what they tell us. But what does that really mean? Are we measuring a deep personal faith, or are we just measuring how somebody wants to be seen by others? It's a really crucial difference to keep in mind as we start looking at the data. Okay, so keeping that measurement challenge in mind, let's jump into the first big piece of this puzzle, social class. What's the real relationship between your wealth, your status, and your faith? Well, the answer, it's probably not what you're expecting. So here's where it gets really interesting. Our first assumption just kind of falls apart. When you actually ask people from different economic backgrounds about those huge questions, is there a God? Is there a heaven? The answers are remarkably similar. It seems like these are just universal human concerns that go way beyond class. So if what people believe is pretty much the same across the board, where's the disconnect? Well, it's right here, in the practice. The data shows that while people from all different classes might believe similar things, it's actually the middle and upper classes who are more likely to go to church regularly. See, historically, church attendance wasn't just about faith. It was also a way to signal social respectability, a kind of status symbol. So the key takeaway is this: belief and practice are two totally different things. So that begs the question, right? Why is religion still such a powerful force for folks in really tough economic spots? Well, this is where this powerful idea from the sociologist Max Weber comes in. It's called the theodicy of disprivilege. Basically, it's a religious framework that helps make sense of suffering. It promises that the struggles you face right now will be rewarded in the next life. It offers comfort, it offers meaning, and it offers a reason to keep going when things are hard. And wow, this really paints a picture of that difference. The sociologist Steve Bruce put it so well. If you're worried about the basics of survival, food, heat, light, religion can give you this profound sense of comfort and hope. But if all your material needs are met, spirituality might become something totally different. It might be more about self-discovery, about finding your inner lights. The whole function of religion changes based on your circumstances. All right, let's switch gears. We've talked about class, but now we're going to look at something that's an even stronger predictor of religiosity, and that's ethnicity. In this case, the story is way less about individual belief and much, much more about community and identity. Just look at this chart from the UK. The difference is absolutely massive. Check out the bars for Pakistani and Bangladeshi communities. We're talking over 90% religious affiliation. Now compare that to the white British population. It's a huge gap. So what is going on here? Now, the first thing you might think is, okay, this has got to be about money, right? Since these groups often face higher levels of poverty. But that's not the full story. Not even close. I mean, plenty of people in the white working class also face deprivation, but they don't show nearly the same high levels of religiosity. The real key? It's all tied up in the power of social identity. You see, for so many ethnic minority groups, especially folks who are recent immigrants, religion isn't just something you do on a weekend. It is the very glue that holds a community together. It gives people social solidarity, it reinforces a shared identity in a new country, it's a connection to cultural traditions, and it creates this vital sense of community and support. It's everything. And there's actually a really useful way sociologists talk about this. They make a distinction between a nominal believer and an authentic believer. So a nominal believer might be part of a majority religion, like the Church of England. They identify with it culturally, but maybe they aren't deeply committed to the practices. On the other hand, an authentic believer is someone who actively demonstrates their faith.
And this is way more common in minority groups, where religion isn't just a label, it's a core part of daily life and community identity.
All right, we're on to our final piece of the puzzle, age. And this is where we get into that big, common story you always hear, that each new generation is just less religious than the last. But is faith simply fading away, or is something else going on entirely?
So, first things first, let's talk about the older generation. Why is it that, generally speaking, they tend to be more religious? What's the deal there?
Well, a few things are going on here. As people get older, they naturally start thinking more about mortality, and religion can offer huge comfort and answers to those big existential questions. A church or temple also provides a really important social network, especially for people who might have lost a partner or live far away from family. And honestly, a lot of it is just that many in the older generation were socialized into religion much more intensely when they were kids. Okay, so that kind of covers the older generation, but the story for young people, well, it's way more than just a simple decline. It's easy to just look at falling church attendance and think, yep, faith is disappearing. But some sociologists think there's a much more interesting story unfolding.
And this is where a really cool idea comes in from a sociologist named Gordon Lynch. He basically says, hold on a second, maybe this fundamental human need for meaning, for community, for ritual, all the stuff religion has always provided, maybe it hasn't gone away at all. Maybe it's just being redirected.
So if it's not disappearing, where's it going? Well, think about it. Look at the absolute devotion, the ritual, the community of being a sports fan. Think about that sense of transcendence and connection you can feel in music or at a club. Or what about the deep moral commitment people have to social causes like feminism or environmentalism? Lynch's whole theory is that these modern things can take on sacred qualities, filling the exact same social and emotional needs that religion used to.
Okay, so we've looked at class, ethnicity, and age. Let's take a step back and see what this all adds up to. What's the big picture here? So let's do a quick recap. First off, we learned that just measuring belief is super tricky. What people say they believe isn't always the whole story. Then we saw that social class doesn't really change if people believe, but it totally changes why they believe. Is it for comfort or is it for status? Third, for a lot of ethnic minority groups, faith is way less about individual belief and way more about being the glue for their community and identity. And finally, we've seen that for younger people, that drive for meaning isn't just vanishing. It might just be finding a new address outside of traditional religion. So, when you put it all together, what does it mean? It means religiosity isn't just one simple thing. It's this powerful, dynamic social force. Its meaning, its practice, its whole purpose is constantly being shaped by our class, our culture, our age, by our unique spot in the world. And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. As we look at the world around us, are we really watching the slow death of religion? Or are we just watching it pack its bags and move into new and maybe unexpected places?